as well needs to understand the climate, the temperature, how to proof the dough after it's made. He's going to proof it for different amounts of time if it's the summer and it's humid versus in the winter when there's less humidity. So it's definitely a skill that is not as straightforward as maybe the average person thinks it is.
Matt, let me ask you, is there any way to spot a hand-rolled bagel as opposed to another way of doing it?
Yeah, I think when you see a hand-rolled bagel, you look at all the bagels that are made and you realize they're all a little bit different. Sometimes they're a little bigger, sometimes they're a little smaller. They're the imperfection of making something by hand. There's something, nice about that versus a machine-made process of just, making a cookie cutter exact replica of every product, and also honoring that artisan trade.
Matt Pomerantz is co-founder of Zucker's Bagels and Smoked Fish. They have 7 locations across Manhattan. Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Take care now.
All I want is a bagel to get me going in the morning. A bagel to get me where I want to be. A bagel. I went against my doctor's warnings, but if I'm good...
Support for WNYC comes from Apple Original Films, presenting Killers of the Flower Moon from director Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone. Academy Awards eligible, rated R. More at fyc.appletvplus.com.
On the next Brian Lehrer Show, a candidate interview with Tom Suozzi. He's the Democrat running for the congressional seat in Queens and Nassau, left open when George Santos was kicked out for making up so much of his bio. Suozzi will answer my questions and take your calls. We've invited his Republican opponent for this week, too. The Brian Lehrer Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on WNYC.
Marketplace Morning Report is next, and later on Morning Edition, a new study finds arrests for possession of psychedelic mushrooms went way up between 2017 and 2022. That rise and bust comes as the drug's potential benefits are being increasingly explored by scientists. We'll have more on that in about 15 minutes. It's a cold morning out there. 30 in the city, colder in the outlying areas. Sunny today, and low 40s will be the high. It'll be gusty, and so it's going to feel chillier than 40 or low 40s. Tomorrow, sunny and mid 40s, then Thursday, sunny and up near 50 as we have a warm-up that will begin, and we'll reach all the way up near 60 on Saturday. 30 now at 6:52.
One person in China who can move financial markets just with his schedule.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance. The Name Your Price tool provides a range of coverage options. Progressive.com. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And by Affinity, provider of the CRM for the private capital relationship economy. Affinity knows who has the best relationship with the right startup. Affinity.co/marketplace.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. Stock indexes in China posted big jumps today after being battered for 2 years now. The Shanghai Composite Index closed up more than 3%, Hong Kong up 4%. This follows a string of announcements from Chinese regulators about efforts to stabilize the market. Plus, a big one today, Bloomberg News reporting President Xi himself will speak to financial regulators about the state of the stock market. Marketplace of China correspondent Jennifer Pak is in Shanghai.
For the past 4 years, China's stock market has not been a place to put your money because there's a lot of uncertainty with U.S.-China tensions and the property slump. Meanwhile, China's economy has not fully recovered from the strict pandemic-era lockdowns. China's regulators say they will stabilize the market, but did not say how. Some observers say today's market bounce reflects Chinese government-backed investors buying up stocks, rather than a shift in investor sentiment. It doesn't help that China's government has been censoring experts who talk about the Chinese economy in less than glowing terms. Frustrated Chinese investors have used creative ways to vent about the stock market, including under a post about giraffes by the U.S. Embassy on its Chinese social media account. In Shanghai, I'm Jennifer Pak for Marketplace.
S&P futures here are down 0.1%. NASDAQ futures are little changed. Coming out of last year, many business economists were becoming less worried about the U.S. falling into recession this year, according to a survey of members of the National Association of Business Economics in January. Just about all, 91%, were thinking there was less than a 50-50 chance of recession in 2024. But the news today is that one of the biggest banks, Deutsche, no longer expects a recession in the U.S. this year, with cooling inflation and what the bank sees as, quote, a better balance of workers and open positions. This morning, the car service Lyft unveiled a plan to guarantee drivers a share of their weekly efforts, a promise that drivers will get at least 70% of what customers pay. The company's also promising better transparency over how fares are divvied up. Marketplace's Nova Safo is here with more.
Yeah, Lyft says a vast majority of its drivers already take home more than 70% of weekly fares, but this will make sure that the 15% who don't will get a pay bump. Notably, that 70% share comes after the company deducts external fees, which it describes as things like local taxes and added insurance costs. So really, the actual take-home pay could still be less than 70% of what passengers actually pay, but it's still a new higher floor for drivers. Lyft is also promising to offer drivers a weekly earnings summary that breaks down how much money is coming in and where it's going, David.
So is this a tight labor market at work?
Yes, Lyft is competing for labor, especially with its bigger rival Uber. Lyft's chief executive told Reuters that he hopes this change will attract more drivers. But also, gig economy companies in general have been facing pressure to improve pay. New York City last year set the nation's first minimum wage for food delivery workers. And the Labor Department next month will begin enforcing new rules that tighten who can be considered a gig worker. And the department has said that it will prioritize enforcement at companies where it thinks workers are being deprived fair wages, David.
All right, thanks.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks delivers comprehensive cybersecurity protection while automating cyber defense to stop threats so organizations can thrive. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com. And by C3 Generative AI, verified traceable answers, secure, hallucination-free, LLM-agnostic, IP liability-free. Learn more at c3.ai. And by Buyside from the Wall Street Journal. Buyside's reviews and recommendations help customers decide how to spend their time and money at wsj.com/buyside.
This week we'll get quarterly results from two big beauty brands, the affordable e.l.f. beauty cosmetics and a fancy one, Estee Lauder, which started out the week by saying it is cutting more than 3,000 jobs, as much as 5% of the workforce. It's a time with many new competitors in the makeup and what they call beauty market. Here's Marketplace's Elizabeth Troval.
If you're going to launch a beauty brand these days, you really have to bring it, says Eva Yen, founder of the consultancy Love Life Beauty.
When there's so many, let's say, gladiators already there, why are you coming into the arena to fight? What do you have to offer that's different?
It's an evolving business, influenced heavily by the ethos of Gen Z, says Ildiko Juhas with the Fashion Institute of Technology. When young people dab on a fragrance,
they want to express themselves. They want it to boost their mood. They're not necessarily doing it to seduce somebody else.
Gen Zers also don't necessarily want to buy beauty products in a store unless there's a hook.
Is it an appearance from a brand founder? Is it like a celebrity appearance? Is it like there's a sampling, program happening?
This round, it's Gen Z, but legacy brands have always had to keep redefining themselves to stay relevant, says Katie Thomas with the Carney Consumer Institute.
In a lot of ways, besides for a couple products, not always an incredibly loyal category in that you're going to stay there for years and years and years.
One way brands, new and old, may pitch themselves this year is by focusing on the science behind their products.
So a lot of talk of, peptides or perhaps at-home tools.
And legacy brands who have invested big bucks in research and development may use that as a selling point, says Mintel analyst Lauren Goodsick.
Bringing that to the forefront so that while consumers are out doing their research, trying to find the best products, the best brands, they'll see that proven efficacy and know that it is a brand that they can trust.
And earning that trust also depends on having the right messenger, says Melissa Hibbert, founder of Shift Beauty Consulting Agency. Instead of relying on celebrity influencers who have paid thousands of dollars for plastic surgery, consumers want more authenticity.
The jig is up. The veil has been pulled back, and and brands know it now. They cannot keep moving in that direction.
She says brands can build that trust by working with nano influencers who have niche audiences. I'm Elizabeth Trovall for Marketplace.
Estee Lauder stock with the layoff announcement went up 12% yesterday, the biggest jump in a dozen years. We're from APM, American Public Media.
WNYC supporters include Mount Sinai, where